Thanks for joining us. I'm Gabe with Backwoods Pursuit. Today I'm going to show you how to set up the Spot Hogg Fast Eddie XL. This is of course the XL model with the dovetail here, but you can also go through the same process with the Fast Eddie where it's a direct mount to your riser. Very similar process and similar steps. So I'm going to walk you through step by step how to do that right out of the box. This is a brand new site, not set up yet, so I'm going to walk you through those steps. Also going to show you how to set the second and third axis on this, and that's important to do before you go hit the range and get your sight tape. In the second video here, I'm going to do another video on how to get the sight tape set up on this site, so if you're interested in that, jump over to that video as well, or check that out after this one. As always, we really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button for us, if you like our content, and follow us on our Facebook and Instagram accounts. Check out our website, Backwoods Pursuit, as well. That is a place where we put a lot of other gear reviews, a lot of other content over there. Go check that out, subscribe over there. We're always putting new content there. I'll put a link to all those and a link to this Spot Hogg Fast Eddie XL in the description for you if you want to check it out for yourself. Let's go get started. Alright, so when you open up your Spot Hogg site, it's going to look like this. You've got a number of different pieces. Now they're a little different than others out there. This one doesn't come fully assembled. It's kind of nice in some ways because you are able to customize the way you set it up, but then if you haven't put one of these together before, it can be a little overwhelming to figure out how exactly you want to put this together. So I wanted to do this video to show you that real quick. So of course you got your main dovetail section, and then you also have the housing section here. Now these are just going to be screwed together, and I'll show you how to do that, but those are the primary pieces that you get in the package, and of course your riser mount right there, and then your Hogg knob, which is the quick disconnect, and then you also have a one that's not a quick disconnect because that Hogg knob does not always work with all the quiver mounts out there, so it gives you the option depending on what quiver you're running. I know that from experience this doesn't work very well with my spot or with my my tight spot quiver, so I have to go ahead and use the one that is inset there, so it can sit flush on the riser mount. It also comes with, let's see, a couple of the mounting screws. Those are what we're going to attach the housing with, and then your Allen wrench. You want to hang on to this. It's a little bit different. It has a shorter L curve on there, and that comes in handy when you go ahead and set your third axis. So I'll set those there. It does come with 3 of the rings. It's the MRT system, so you've got 3 to choose from. It comes with the larger one here, and I've found just from playing with the Spot Hogg sites a little bit that I prefer this smaller one here, and it allows me to use a little smaller peep, or the peep that I prefer. Depending on your draw length and other factors, how far away you like the sight to sit from the riser, you can play around with that, but really the only way, or the real easy way to change that, it just unscrews on the end like that and pull that off. And then I'm going to go ahead and put this one on because I know that this is the one that works best for my setup. Go ahead and screw that back on, and we should be good to go just like that, and that's all there is to it. So you can change those out whenever you want. Real simple and easy process. Really the main thing to note when we're setting this up is that I'll put this in close here, hopefully it'll focus for us here on this little guy, and you can see this is where you're going to mount the sight housing right here. So this is how this is going to mount up right on there like that. So there's a couple of ways to do this, and you can see there's some those Allen screws right there. And I'm going to pull those off real quick, and I'll show you the different mounting positions. And what this does is it affects the windage adjustment. These Spot Hogg sites have about an inch and a half of windage adjustment left and right, which isn't really a lot. And so that's why you have this bracket here to move, to flip around one way or the other to help you. And after playing with these a little bit, I just know that the way that it comes here in the package, I have to change it to fit my setup, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll show you that in just a second here. And this is what that looks like. It's a small little bracket here, so I can get you a good view of that. So that's what that looks like, and then that mounts right on this little portion of the dovetail here. So it mounts right there. That's how it comes, just like that. I'll try to get my fingers out of the way best I can. And so you can set it like that, You can also flip this around like that and mount it on that side, and if that gives you a little more elevation adjustment that way, so you can go like that or like that. It comes like that. You can flip it around like that. And what I had to end up doing is flip it again like this. A third option is to give even more adjustment like that. I'll see if I can get that a little bit easier to see for you, about like that. So that's how I ended up having to set mine up. So I'm gonna attach it like that and throw my bow in the vise here, and we'll get the rest of this set up. All right, so the first thing you want to do is go ahead and get the bracket, here, this dovetail bracket mounted on your bow. If you don't have the dovetail, just mount the bracket directly onto the riser here. So I've got 2 mounting holes here on this particular bow. I went ahead and selected the higher one just because I've got that to work really well for me. So I went ahead and put that in already, just so that's a pretty basic process. Then take your dovetail and slide that in. You can play around. You can see these little dimples all the way up and down here, so you can move that real close into the riser, or you can really move that a long ways out if you want. I'll just go ahead and set it on, say, the 3rd or 4th one here just to get started. I'm going to go ahead and put the hog knob on there just to hold that in place while we're going through this process. So here's where these 2 small screws come into play that came with there in the package. So I got my sight housing here. You can see right here a line of various options here as far as where you want to mount this. You can go ahead all the way from the bottom there all the way up like that, and any various number there. I'm going to put this somewhere in the middle here, either on one of these, the top one. There's not an exact middle, so you're going to have 1 on the bottom, 1 option on the bottom, or 2 on the top, 1 on the bottom, 2 on the top, or 1 on the top, 2 on the bottom to be right in the middle. I'm going to have 1 on the top, and I get that started right there. And then do the same on this bottom one here, get that started. That way it'll just hold that in place, and then grab my Allen wrench here and get those assembled. Alright, tighten those all the way down, snug that up. If you're not sure if that's going to be exactly the position that you want, don't snug those obviously all the way tight, but I know that's about where I want it. Alright, so one other mounting note here is, you see this is the vertical slide on the Spot Hogg sight. You've got all of these mounting options here, up and down. So there's a number there. I've already moved this. I think it comes right about here centered. I moved it down a couple to give me more ability to play with on the vertical slide. I'll play with it some more. I may move it back up, but for now that's where I started it. But it usually comes centered, so it's a good place to start. And then once you get a feel for how your bow is going to shoot, you can move that up or down just depending on your bow. Just wanted to make note of that. That is the basic how we get that mounted up on your sight or on your bow, so you're ready to go and now work on these getting the second axis set. Alright, so I went ahead and threw the bow on the vise, and I went ahead and leveled it vertically here, and then leveled it this way as well. Leveled the riser, and then we go ahead and check the level on the sight itself there. Alright, so to get your second axis set, it's a real critical step. That basically sets your sight, sets the movement this way, and I'll show you that once I loosen this up, so that your pins are lined up vertically. It's a real critical step, so that if you're shooting your 20-yard pin and then you move to your 60-yard pin, you're not hitting left or right. If your second axis is off, it'll make you hit left or right. So first step, you take and loosen these 2 set screws here. There's one on that side, and then there's one on this side. So you loosen those 2 up, and then that allows you to loosen this top one here. Get the right size. Loosen this top one here, and then you can loosen the bottom one as well. That helps make the adjustment just a little bit easier. And then that allows you, as you can see, to move this whole entire sight housing, and it kind of rotates and swivels right on that top nut right there. And so what you want to do is go ahead and make sure that you're still level, make sure your bow is level and that you didn't move anything, which I did just a little and bumped it. So I want to make sure that's level, make sure the most important is that make sure your vertical is level, so make sure that your riser is level. And then you're going to take this and hold it about in the position where your sight bubble is level. And then you'll adjust just over make it just a little bit past level, because when you tighten this down it'll come back just a little is what I found. So go ahead and tighten that down. That's about perfect there. Tighten down the bottom one. Make sure those are both good. The level's still perfect in the center. The other levels are still set. So I'll go ahead and tighten those down really good. Obviously you don't want to over tighten, but make sure that they're not going to go anywhere. Go ahead and do that. Make sure you're still set, which we're good. And then I'm going to go ahead and tighten those 2 set screws. Those are going to make sure that that doesn't go anywhere. That just makes sure that is set in place and doesn't have any horizontal travel on you, so your second axis stays where it's supposed to. So once you get those set, we're all good to go. I couldn't get a good camera angle, I'm sorry, as far as so you could see the way that the bubble moves when you're moving that, but you can probably figure it out for yourself pretty easy. But that's how you adjust the second axis. So let's get the third axis set now. And that process is pretty simple here as well. This is where your little stubby little Allen head is going to come into play. These two right there, and then there's another one right here, are what are going to adjust your third axis. So to do that, you want to make sure that your bow is on a 45-degree angle. So I'm going to do that, and I'll reposition the camera. Alright, so the last step in the process here is to get your third axis set. Now the third axis this is just a starting point here because this is not at full draw. You do want to do your third axis at full draw. I've got another video that I'll put a card up there for you on how to get that third axis set at full draw. That video is on a black gold site, but the process is basically the same as far as the principles, so I'll put a link to that for you. But for this Spot Hogg site here, what we're going to be doing is looking at these 2 little adjustment screws right here, this one and that one. And the process is you loosen one and then tighten the other, because this allows the third axis basically is the sight moving like this. So this is critical when you're at full draw or when you're at an angled, taking an angled shot. This will make or break a shot. You can miss by a foot or more if your third axis is set wrong. So basically this is where your funny looking little Allen head here comes into play. You're going to go ahead and loosen one side here with the Allen head. So loosen that, and then over here on this side, this is kind of a funny angle, and that's why you get the short one. You'll either tighten or loosen that based on what your bubble is doing. So let me move this over here so you can see the bubble when I do this. Okay, so when I move this here and tighten it, you can see that bubble move this way, and that's what we want to get that perfectly centered. So move just a little bit more there, and that's about right there. So we'll do that, and then I'm going to tighten down this back side, and if I tighten down the back side, it'll basically act as a counter tightening to this that we just tightened over here, and ideally that's going to stay where we want. It looks pretty good. So we'll tighten these 2 down, and then that is going to be your third axis, and we're all set on the third axis. Alright, so we got that all installed on the bow there, and we're all got the second and third axis level. I haven't done the third axis at full draw yet, but I'll do that later on here. Just wanted to show you how that adjustment is made, but we're all set to go get down to the range. So stay tuned for the next video on how to set the sight tape up on these Spot Hogg sights. I'll do a quick video on that once I get down to the range. Thanks for joining us here today. We'll see you next time.